Okay, so today BIMS webinar will be focusing on the management of Fieldbook app data. So agenda for today is I'll still do a brief introduction and then the Fieldbook data management in BIMS and then questions at the end. So after last month webinar, we had a survey and it was really useful and thank you so much. And then we will have another survey, and if you don't mind, just spending a couple of minutes answering the questions will help us a lot. So from one of the like comments from one of the participants last month, it was just focus on doing the talk in the beginning and have the questions on further improvement or questions at the end. So if it's directly related to what I'm talking about, you don't understand, please ask me any questions. But otherwise, if it's a suggestion for new functionality, please do that afterwards. Okay. So introduction, we'll briefly talk about vision and current functionality, and then how to start using BIMS if you are not doing it yet. So the goal, the vision that we have is to provide individual breeders with a secure and comprehensive online breeding management system, which will allow them to store, manage, archive, and analyze your private breeding program data, and then fully integrate your data with publicly available genomic genetic breeding data in GDR, and manage data from the Fieldbook app, an Android app for collecting phenotype data. So that way you will be able to utilize your integrated pedigree, phenotype, and genotype data in performing genomic analysis and making breeding decisions. And also you will be able to use open source new genomic tools, breeding decision tools with seamless access to HPC, high performance computers. So current functionality, you can create programs, add members, and control permission levels to each member. And you can add your own data, accessions cross phenotype from trials in template. And also you can add phenotype data exported from the Fieldbook app. And you can create input files for the Fieldbook app and then sync data among multiple devices with the Fieldbook app through BIMS. And you can perform and view statistical analysis on any list of accessions you created, and perform search with various categories and trait cutoff values, and save the result, the list, and phenotype data. And anytime you can archive the entire data. Okay, so how to start using BIMS? First, you have to create a GDR account and then ask us for a breeder privilege. Then you can start, you can go to GDR BIMS, which is rosacy.org /BIMS. And to contact us, you can email me directly or just there's a contact form. And there's a GDR BIMS mailing list here. So I've been just like emailing everyone who participated in Rosebreed. But you can, if more people join mailing list, we will be sending like news about GDR BIMS meetings, new functionality, bug fixes, etc. So we highly recommend you guys joining the mailing list. And we are planning to do a monthly BIMS webinars where we demonstrate functionality, answer questions, etc. And we are trying to do like very focused ones. And then we will tell you what the topics are ahead of time so that you can join only you have interest. And also we will appreciate if you tell us what topics you want us to do next month or in the following month, so that you can do that. And also at any time, you can request individual program online meetings to get help for specifically for your program. So we don't mind this at all, and just like just ask us, email us, then we will meet. We will schedule a meeting, because we know this monthly webinar may not be a good time for you, and we can really do a doodle every time. So you can join the monthly webinar. Otherwise, just ask us to meet privately. And then and there is a user guide, rojc.org, and BIMS manual. Okay. So what we will do, how to configure BIMS to match the fieldbook files. Second, how to generate a trait file. And third, how to generate a field file for fieldbook. And then lastly, how to load the exported fieldbook exported file to BIMS. So how to configure BIMS to match fieldbook. So the people who use BIMS, you will know that there is a two required columns. Let me go to BIMS. Okay, here. So under manage breathing program, I have this test program. So I chose that. And mainly we will do today, like discuss under this fieldbook management. So first I want to show you how to match the column names between the BIMS and the fieldbook app. So here is a little icon. You can go from here, or just at any point of time you can go here. So this is the control page, and we will just focus on this configuration for fieldbook. So we'll go to fieldbook and fieldbook required columns. So the accession is not required, but obviously you have to have accession. So accession name and unique identifier and primary order and secondary order. So these three are required in fieldbook. And so you can change these names however you want to. And if you change it and save it, BIMS will reflect it. So for example, so this data import section is how you, this is where you can load the data in templates. So in template list, it lists all the templates, and if you view this phenotype, it shows all the columns in this phenotype sheet, and you can see accession, primary order, and secondary order. So in fieldbook management, so I'll just go to this configuration page, in fieldbook, required columns, and let's say normally you use primary order as row and tree. So this is what you use, and you want to change it, and you save it. And then if you go to data import template list, and if you look at phenotype, now it's changed to row and tree. So you can do that for these two, and accession. You can call it like germplasm, then you can change it. So, but I want to change it back because in this program, what I use is exactly primary order, and then secondary order. Okay, so I changed it back. Okay, just make sure. And then the custom columns are, so in Fieldbook, you can add more columns as you please. And you can do that when you generate, like here, when you generate input file here. And here you can choose like what columns you want to add into the input file you are generating at the time. So here you can choose something so that it shows up here. So here, like, so I chose like fruit set and rank, and accession properties, I chose maternal and paternal here. Then if you go here, generate input file, so existing trial here. So if you look at it, those two show up, and then the traits you chose show up. So here again, you can just like unselect, deselect, or select, or whatever. So, but then whatever columns that show up, you can do it from this control page, configuration page. Okay, so that's the configuration page here. And here we just have a link to the manual for the actual field book. So you can go there and then download. Okay, so that's the configuration page. And then next item is generate trait file. So like in Fieldbook app, you can actually create a lot of trails that you want. And if for some reason you created traits in BIMS already, and then you can just upload that trait file into your device. So in some cases, probably you created all the traits in one device, and you don't want to duplicate that. Like if you have 3 other devices, if you don't want to do it, you can download that trait file, come here and upload that trait file, and then I guess you don't really need to do that. Like you download them, and you can like put it into another devices. You can do that without going through BIMS. So this would be really like somehow you had your old programs, which you haven't used Fieldbook at all, and then so you have already all the traits stored in BIMS, then you want to export that into your device, then you can do this. So okay, trait files, generate trait files. Okay, here then it shows you the traits that you have in your BIMS program. So whatever you want to choose it and generate.
So why would you want a trait file as opposed to a field file?
So trait file is basically just it defines the trait, and in Fieldbook app you can create trait. So you don't have to do this if you just want to create traits in Fieldbook app. But like if somehow before you ever using Fieldbook app, if you already have this trait in your BIMS, it's just one way of loading it into your Fieldbook app, your device. So instead of creating, you know how you can create a trait one by one in Fieldbook app? So like you can put, like you can name it adhesion and say this is categorical trait and what the categories are. You have to do it one by one in Fieldbook app, right? So instead of doing that, you can just load this if you have the data in BIMS. Yeah. So this is different from the input file for phenotype. So you do need 2 different files. I mean, the trait files, either you can load it or you can just manually create it in your Fieldbook app. Okay. So if you decide to decide to load, you can just download this and then put it into your device. Then next is like generating the actual input file, right? So we just have 3 different cases right now. So if you have a new cross, you can generate the actual progeny name, and then like put it into Fieldbook app. And then the existing trial, it's as a way to sync devices through BIMS. And then the new trial when you want to have another trial with accessions that are already in BIMS. So I will go into detail like for each cases. So let's say you are generating a input file for a new cross. So so the input file will look like this. So you have a cross name here, and then the first and second is like so. First row you planted 156 trees, so you put it like this, 1 and 1 to 156. And then the second row you did 1 to 63, and then another second row like 64 to 158, but then the cross name is different, right? So you do that. And then if you somehow skip the numbers, you can do that uh, like this as well. So 1 to 82 and 85 to 14. So the column name here is not that important, just the column order is important. So the first one is cross name, second one is a row, and the tree is how many trees are in that row. And then you give the prefix, then the file generated by BIMS would look like this. So the accession name would be the cross name and the number. It like one to like number, and then the unique ID would be prefix and then the cross name and then the number. So primary order is the row, and then the secondary order is within that row. So if you see, like the first row, it was 1 through 156, and primary order is 1, and secondary order is 1 through 156. And then the second row starts from here. Primary order is 2, and then there were 63, so it goes on like 1 to 63. So this is one of the breeder wanted this way. So if it works for you, it's good. And if you want like something else, like please let us know how we should create the unique ID, or how we should create the input file for a new cross. This is just one example that works for a breeder. So let's see. Okay. Generate an input file field for a new cross. So choose file. Okay, so I will choose, this is the exact file like you saw in the PowerPoint. And I will do cage the prefix first, and then upload and generate. Okay. So the CSV input file is generated. So it looks like this: the accession, unique ID, primary order, and secondary order, like that. So, okay. And the next up is generating input file for existing trial. So this is, let's say you have, you're using 3 different devices and you go out and do the phenotype. And, but like each person does some trees and another person does another tree, and you don't know this tree has been phenotyped or not. So as a way of syncing data from multiple devices, what you do is you load the exported files from each device into BIMS and then recreate the input file with some sort of indication which have been already phenotyped. So each of you may have a trait, like saying if this trait has been recorded, uh, this has been like phenotyped. So whenever you do phenotyping, you have to do this trait first or whatever. So then you can create an input file with a column, with an extra column with that trait. Then you will know. So you put that input file into all of your 3 devices. Then next time you will know this has been done, so you can go to another tree. So, but one thing is when you load the output from Fieldbook into BIMS, you use a database format. So there are 2 exported files, table format and database format. And the database format doesn't have the unique ID if it has never been phenotyped. So, so what you do is you have to make sure first upload the original field book input file, the empty file first, so that all the unique IDs and row, the primary order and secondary order is saved in BIMS. So you do the input file first, and then you load whatever output files that you've been phenotyping, and then regenerate the input file. It's like a lot of people like do it once a week, so that like your data go in and create new input file, and then you know which one has been phenotyped already. So let's say, so this is like existing trial. So this is existing trial. You are doing it, and you already loaded, let's say, your data last week. So you want to create another new input file, but then you want to include some columns. So let's say, I don't think it's a good example, but fruit set probably is the indicator that it has been phenotyped or whatever, and then you somehow you also want to see the rank. You can do that, and then and for some reason, if you wanna have like maternal and paternal column as well in your input file, you do that and then generate. So okay, so so this so in addition to unique ID, primary and secondary and accession, you have additional columns now. Normally you would have like a lot of unique IDs, but and some of the data will be empty because you haven't phenotyped yet. But then so you use this as an input to your Fieldbook app, and then you will keep adding keep phenotyping other phenotypes. So that's that. And then a new trial would be, I don't know how much you do this, but uh, this is the case when you have all the accessions in BIMS and somehow you want to do a new trial, and you want to generate an input file for Fieldbook app. Then you create a list of those accessions first. So you can do that in search. I am not going to go into detail in how to search, but you can do whatever, like choose whatever categories you want to choose to create that accession list and save. And you can save it here. So if you have saved search results, it will show up. Upload field file. No, create a field input file and accession list. So I have only one list here, so it is showed up. So you click that. And then again, you can choose to add maternal or paternal parent in your input file and then generate. So since this is a new cross, I mean not new cross, uh, new trial using existing accessions, we can't really, BIMS wouldn't know how to like put the primary order or secondary order or unique ID. So here the only thing it does is to print out the accession list that you provided and then some information here. And so you can do your own unique ID and primary and secondary order here. So right now we have these three options, and if you can think of anything else, probably like for this new cross, if you need any new functionality, please let us know. Okay. So, and then the last thing is how to load the phenotype file that you exported from Fieldbook. So this is another one, like how to load the trait file. So if you don't have any trait in BIMS and you created all the trait descriptors using Fieldbook app, then you can load the data in this site. Okay. So I'm not going to demonstrate that because I have all the traits already in BIMS. And the second one, the upload field file, is how to add the phenotyping data that you collected using Fieldbook app. So to do this, all the accessions like site and pedigree data, those better be already in BIMS, right? At least the accessions. It should be in BIMS using this template. Okay, so this would be the accessions are already in BIMS, but then you are adding new phenotyping data that you did using Fieldbook app. So okay, so here you do choose file, Fieldbook sample webinar. So this is I will show you. This is just the Fieldbook file that you exported from Fieldbook app. So this is the database format. So database format shows you like unique ID, primary, secondary, accession, and the trait name here, and then the value and the time that is recorded, and some like other information that the Fieldbook outputs. So you have that file in your computer and come here and choose file and upload. And this inspect button looks at all the columns in your file and see, okay, so these are unknown columns by BIMS, like person, location. If you want to load them into BIMS database, you can check them. If you don't want it, you don't have to check it. And then if you want to associate with certain site, you can do that. And then the trial names, you associate it. So you have to have the trial name first. Okay, so and then submit. And then you it shows the files here, and then if you want to view how the upload is going, you can do view. And then, so this is such a small file, it's already completed. So if you had any errors, there will be like error logs, and you can take a look at it and see what the error is. Okay. So that's all I have for the fieldbook data management. So we have like 20 minutes or so. So if you have any questions and suggestions and questions, it doesn't have to be about this topic.